Barbara.
I'm Cheryl.
And I'm Naima. We're three Black moms. It seems like everybody in America is packing a pistol. This is a gun culture. And if you grew up watching the Wild Wild West, that's how people settle their differences. Somebody offended you, you all had a shootout at high noon. Well, it almost seems like we have come back to the Wild Wild West, especially if you took a look at what happened in the nation's capital not long ago, where supporters of President Donald Trump decided they wanted to take a stand and keep the country from so-called being stolen. Well, it was the craziest thing you could ever imagine. No one ever thought that they would see people crashing into the Capitol building, but it happened. And I understand that they were armed and there were some shots fired and there were some people that died, including a police officer. And we find out that there were a whole lot of military people in that crowd. So what is going on in America? Is this a place where we could see, just like in a so-called third world country, a military takeover, a coup, a gun battle? Is there any way to reverse this? We are probably the only nation in the world where even the children are packing weapons. What do we do about this? So what do you think?
Lavinia was 2 years old when a crazed woman in Winnetka, Illinois, ran into a classroom, shot the teacher and a bunch of students. And we parents were appalled that that had happened, because school is supposed to be one of the safest places where you send your children. Now, the scary thing is that there have been school shootings as far back as the 1700s. But let me tell you that it has gotten so pervasive that we're almost acting as if this is normal. When Lavinia was in college, her school, NIU, had a school shooting. I got so many calls from other parents asking me, is Lavinia okay? Is she safe? And I said, Lavinia was studying abroad that year. I said, she is in the safest place she can be. She is in China. Now, the other scary thing is that where this student had shot up a bunch of other students in the lecture hall, Lavinia's roommate had just left that lecture hall. So that was really close to home to her. She had me read all the names of the students that had died. She wanted to know if she knew any of those students. And she was just so despairing and feeling so hurt. She was thinking, oh, I need to go home and, be with my Huskies, her schoolmates. And I said, no, you stay there where you are. And because this has happened over and over, you start wondering what in the world is going on. But let me tell you, I live in a gun crazed country and a state. I'm sorry I have to say this, but these people are packing. I was teaching a class where we're talking about what kind of things do you do in an emergency? What kind of things do you make sure, like if there's some kind of natural disaster? And this was in middle school and high school. And the first thing these kids said to me was, you make sure you have a gun. A gun? Because, you're thinking you need water, flashlights, and this kind of thing. And then I had students tell me that even their pastors are packing. And
take that collect.
And you know what? My pastor said to me, when somebody came into a church, not just Charlotte, North Carolina, but another church where somebody burst in and shot up a bunch of people, at our next church setting, our pastor said, this is not going to happen to us because we're prepared. And let us know that not just him, but other ushers in the church, they come to church packing.
You all remember that Bible in Buck and the Preacher? I put my faith in the good book. It had a gun in it. Yeah, so I think, I mean, it's not funny, but in a real sense, it has gotten to a point where even church is not sacred. There was a while back, I'm trying to think if it was maybe 2 years ago, maybe 3, that a funeral was shot up because one of the gang members or something, their funeral, and so there's a retaliation. So there was shooting at the church. I mean, it's gotten to a point where nothing is sacred at all. Now, people used to make fun of Reverend Johnny Coleman. You may know who she is. She's got a church on 119th Street, and her security was armed, because they collected quite a bit of money at the church, and they wanted to make sure nobody got any ideas. And people would talk about, all right, she got guns. People, she got armed guards escorting her. Yeah, I mean,
there's more of that than you would believe.
Yeah, so unfortunately, now that is becoming the norm, where you have to have armed security at the churches. But I think you start to think it's normal until you go somewhere else where that isn't happening. The time I spent in South Korea visiting Zakia when she was living there, and I didn't hear any sirens, didn't hear no gunshots. I mean, that just wasn't happening. And you didn't see on the news every few minutes somebody getting shot or somebody been hauled away, and that just wasn't there. And I realized the absence of it. And I asked the kid about the gun situation. She said, well, citizens don't carry guns here. They just don't. And
it's
then
a different culture.
Don't carry guns. I mean,
it is a different culture.
A different culture. So people choose to not have guns. And she said, well, yeah, I mean, you do have stabbings,
Yeah. Knives are very, very scary weapons that are used.
Yeah. But it's not like it's not happening.
A gun that will take out a lot of people at one time.
Right. And
a person with a knife can be subdued much faster.
Right. And so one of the things that I noticed was, because there was not a proliferation of guns, there was a lot of comfort in walking the streets. I mean, we were out shopping there like 2 a.m, and people were coming from work late at night and walking down these dark streets. It looked like alleys, they're regular streets, but they're very narrow and very dark. And I'm like, nobody's worried about getting mugged. And she's like, no, because nobody.
I had that experience too with Lavinia. I'm looking around going, this is a scary looking dark alley. And she was walking along normal, all the people that are there.
And nobody was afraid. And because we're living in America where people rob you at gunpoint all the time in a dark alley or even in a lit alley,
in broad daylight.
In broad daylight. And we've had so many carjackings here in Chicago lately, it's horrendous. But because everybody is always on guard, because guns are so readily available, we've begun to see it as normal. So I'm not surprised at a situation where it shows how out of control this nation is, when people can go to the Capitol building and not expect anything to happen when they tear up the place, and they're walking in there like they're going to have a military takeover, and they're expecting to be victorious. I'm not surprised, because this has been insanity for a long time. And I really think those people thought that they were going to get away with it.
Well, in a way, they kind of have. We have been normalizing this for the longest times. Our children have lockdown drills.
Yeah.
We're not that far from the generation. My husband and I have talked about this. I don't remember us doing this, but he remembered them hiding under the desk for the nuclear bomb drills.
Yeah.
That was a little before my time.
I think that was before your time, and I don't remember us ever having to do that. But he and I are about the same age, and they did it at his school. But that's the thing. But we have children that we traumatize day after day to teach them what to do when there's a school shooting. We have the outgoing occupant of the White House who talked about, I don't call him the president because he's made it quite clear he's not the president of anybody but himself and maybe his family. And the rest of y'all can just go scratch. But he talked about arming teachers. He talked
Yeah.
as if children of color are not already exposed to enough violence, through school resource officers. Now you want to arm teachers so that they can also pretend that they're afraid for their lives next time, James or John or Tyrone or whoever acts up, because they ain't shooting a little white kid.
I can just.
Oh my goodness! Let me tell you this other thing that happened.
Wait a minute. Let me finish.
Oh,
Let me
go
finish.
ahead, and I'll tell you my story with guns.
So this is the thing, and I also have seen that same lack of apprehension when I was over in Japan. I was a young woman and I was going to visit another young woman. We went to Kyoto. We came back on the train late at night and we were walking, to get to her car. And it was late at night and I'm looking around and she's not.
Yeah.
There was nothing to fear.
Nothing.
And not that women are not abused and assaulted all over the world, because they are in all countries. But our whole thing about having guns is ridiculous. We actually did a page last year about, is there a silver bullet for gun control? And there really isn't, because people have taken the Second Amendment, which is very, very short, and they have decided that this thing about having a well-armed militia means that you got to be packing everything, including, rocket launchers in your garage just in case what?
Because the aliens come.
Yeah, because
aliens come, they're much more armed than we are.
Yeah, yeah, this is the thing, is that these people and they've made this into this, they've conflated a well-armed militia, which is all the Second Amendment is about, so that, so that another country doesn't come in. And they've decided, oh, this means that I can have all the guns that I want. To do what with? And
where's the enemy you're fighting?
And gun control, people are more afraid of getting rid of their Second Amendment rights. And I have told people, and maybe I should not tell people this, but I have written publicly, I have not lived in a house with a gun since I lived in Chicago with our father, who was a security guard who had a registered gun. I have never, ever felt unsafe. You know what I do have? I got a dog.
And she bites.
She bites. In fact, I have to keep muting myself because she's barking. But the thing is that she bites. She's part Chow. They used to, Chows were bred to
guard,
protect the emperors of China.
Okay.
So I got one of her.
Yeah, you got an emperor protector.
I got an emperor protector.
You know what else this gun culture has done?
If there are any cats or any skunks out there too, she's gonna get them too. So but this is the thing. But this is the thing. We have so normalized shootings, mass shootings. Yeah. And the reason why we've normalized it, folks, is because the mass shootings are white people.
Yes.
Young white men. And then when it's a black, when somebody black gets shot, then the first thing they want to say is, well, what about this black on black crime? What about all the white on white crime?
Oh, white on many whites and Asians and
incels
and everything else, because whoever's in the crowd
decide that because they can't get a date, they're gonna kill all the women. You know,
things like that. So we have to stop allowing it to be normal, and we have to stop acting like everybody else in the world is living like this, because this is insane, and we need to let it be known other places aren't doing this. For people who never left the States, because a lot of people, especially a lot of Black people, never left the United States, and a lot of whites too, never traveled anywhere. They don't know that the way we live is insane. It's not normal.
Not good.
And everybody else in the world is not carrying a gun, and people, as you experienced, walk the streets at night feeling totally safe. Why?
You know what else the gun culture does? It has ruined the innocence of children.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I had an incident where it was really hot outside. I had gone to the dollar store. I have a little prize box for my kindergarten kids, and I bought a bunch of water pistols. And so the kids are lining up. They're putting water in their water pistols. They're shooting each other in the hallway before they can get outside. And the principal came up to me, "Where'd y'all get those guns?" "Miss Barbara." And he went and he snatched everybody's little pistols from them and looked at me balefully and said, "No kind of guns." And
Yeah.
I don't know what I was thinking. I'm thinking I'm remembering when we were kids and we had those super soakers but in this culture, people are real quick to think little Black kids have guns and they'll shoot them. I mean, a week or two later, we had an incident where this child had a toy gun and was shot.
Yeah, Tamir Rice, 12.
And he was 12. He had a toy gun and he was shot within 2 seconds. If you watch that video, he was shot within 2 seconds. Nobody told him to drop the gun, nothing. The guy got out of the car and shot him before he could even react. Not only that, they just decided not to charge this guy.
Mm-hmm.
They just decided not to charge this police officer who should not have been a police officer because he was rejected by the Cleveland police because he failed. I think he probably failed the psych exam or something. And this is the thing, is that we have such a
twisted
love affair with guns that we cannot see that those who live by it and die by it, and maybe that man would have found a reason to shoot this little Black boy anyway, because they tend to always find our children to be much older and their own children to be much younger.
Right.
So we're always, us being Black is enough because we're already suspicious, which is and if you have anything like a toy gun that's even obviously a toy, doesn't matter. But the thing is that we used to, all of us, we played with
Water pistol.
I had a set of
You cannot
pistols
do that.
myself. Mama and Daddy got me a set of guns because I was taking the neighbor's guns. I had a holster and I had 2 pistols.
And any
Not
police
anymore.
I was
officer
4.
can't tell the difference between a water gun and a regular gun. Doesn't need to be a police officer. But the sad thing, like you say, it destroys the innocence of children because.
And you know what? There's plenty of other toys they can play with.
Yeah.
That are non-violent.
Squirting water. I mean, really. But the thing about it,
you know what? A water balloon will do the same thing.
And I hope they don't say it looks like a bomb. You can't play with that. Hand grenade! Ah! Why would you give it a child like that? But see, we have to decide that we're going to do something to change this situation. And if that means working toward a state where there are no armed police, there are no armed citizens, there are no armed anybody other than the military protecting the borders, then that's what we have to do. But it's a decision that the collective body has to make. How many mass shootings do we need to happen before we have the intelligence to do that? Like you say, they that Second Amendment. How many times we have to have a classroom of children or a theater full of people shot up before we decide, look, nobody needs to have a gun. That's the
How many NRA representatives does it take to change a light bulb? More guns.
Yeah, exactly. You know what? The thing is that I always look, and I had written about this too. Every time I go into a theater, I look at the front exits and I try to figure out how I can get out if somebody comes through those front exits, because that's what happened in Arizona. Every time, I'm always on alert for everything. And this is the trauma that we have all just decided is okay to do. We're always looking for the exit. We're always trying to figure out how are we going to get out of this dangerous situation, from walking in the store or going to a mall or anything. And we have been collectively traumatized because we cannot get rid of that whole thing of saying that a gun will make us safe. Actually, households with guns are less safe. And one thing I would say as moms, because we're moms, if you have young children and you don't believe in having your child around guns, when they go on a play date, ask the parents, don't be shy, don't be awkward. Do you have a gun in your house? And they will say, oh, yeah, I have one, but my kid doesn't know where it is.
Oh, that's a lie. They always know where it is.
Kids know where everything is. Kids know everybody's parent. When Sarah was little and we would go somewhere, all the parents didn't know the kids. All the kids knew all the parents. They would say, oh, that's Sarah. They would look up at me and the kid that I never saw before said, Sarah, your mom's here.
Oh, yeah.
You know, kids know, they know everything, they see everything, and they hear everything, especially if you're not talking to them.
Right.
So
especially.
They'll act like they're not listening, so you'll keep going.
Yeah, exactly. So this is the thing, is that we need to start asking other people, do you have a gun in your house? Because this is what happens, especially when they get to middle school and then high school and somebody's showing off. If you have a gun in your house, you're more likely to have it used against you and by somebody in your family, or your kid will bring some, either accidentally shoot their friend or their friend will accidentally shoot them. Suicides go up. You know, all kinds of things go up because we are so, I mean, granted, like you say, a knife can do a lot of damage too, but
people tend not to stab themselves or definitely want to commit suicide.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Well, you know, that time when someone went to that Amish community and shot up those people there, the world felt like, where if the Amish aren't safe, who is?
But it was someone coming from outside, right? Someone who had left their community and had a beef of some kind and came back and shot up people.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean they all should start carrying weapons.
Right, right.
Just like it doesn't mean all the teachers should carry weapons or all the students.
That was the craziest thing I ever heard, and no teachers supported that. They all felt like we are there to teach.
Right.
We are not there to police.
Some of the ones in Texas actually did, and some of them still do carry. But this thing is that the answer to the gun problem is not more guns.
Right. You know, I'm really kind of glad about this COVID virus situation. I think people need to stay home until they can figure out how to get along. Just stay home. Well, we gotta go, but we thank you all for joining us. Now, what do you think about this gun situation? Do you think we should work toward a society where there are no guns? That means no police, no citizens, nobody except the military, who are only patrolling outside at the borders, not within the streets of the places where we live, so that there are no armed people that we have to fear. What do you think about that? Or do you think we need to hold on to that Second Amendment right and give everybody their right to bear arms? What do you think?
There has to be a balance in that. You know, there's protection and then there's crazy people. We need to have people who can be trained. I mean, why should the ordinary citizen be the one who has to talk down the situation and be all calm?
Because the crazy people don't know they're crazy. That's why there's a problem. Well, give us your responses. What do you think we should do? And what suggestions do you have to getting rid of this gun culture? So we've got to go. Thanks for joining us. I'm Naima.
I'm Cheryl.
I'm Barbara. We're 3 Black moms.